Hello everyone, in this lecture we are going to learn classical comedy and its characteristics, and we will also learn that how it is different from a romantic comedy. But, if you are new to my channel, then subscribe the channel and like the video. Well, let's move and learn it. It can be defined as: classical comedy is a genre of comedy that originated in ancient Greece and Rome. It follows a set of rules known as the three unities: unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. What does it mean? Simply, it means that a classical comedy is nothing but it refers to a comedy that is originated in ancient Greece and Rome. And it follows certain rules and regulation that make it different from a romantic comedy. So, let me explain those rules and regulations so then you will understand it. The first one is unity of time. It means that it was the rule of classical comedy that the play should take place in a single day. Basically, this rule was intended to create a sense of verisimilitude, or realism, in the play. It also helped to keep the play focused and moving forward. Actually, you need to remember that there are a few ways to interpret the rule of unity of time. One way is to say that the play should take place in a single day in real time. This would mean that the play should be no longer than 24 hours long, including the time it takes to perform the play. Another way to interpret the rule is to say that the play should take place in a single day in dramatic time. This would mean that the play could cover a longer period of time, but the events would need to be presented in a way that makes it seem like they are happening in a single day. The next rule that was followed in classical comedy was unity of place. It means that the play should take place in a single location. This rule was also intended to create a sense of verisimilitude. Basically, it means that it is the rule that a comedy must take place in a single location. And this rule was first articulated by Aristotle in his book, Poetics. This question must be in your mind, that what the reason is behind following the rule of unity of action. The answer is, there are several reasons why unity of place was considered important by classical playwrights. First, it helped to create a sense of verisimilitude, or realism, in the play. When the action of the play takes place in a single location, it is easier for the audience to suspend their disbelief and accept the events of the play as real. Second, unity of place helped to keep the play focused and moving forward. When the action of the play is constantly shifting from one location to another, it can be difficult for the audience to keep track of what is happening. Unity of place helps to avoid this problem by keeping the action confined to a single location. Unity of action. Unity of action refers to the idea that a play should have a single, central conflict. This means that the play should not have any subplots that are unrelated to the main conflict. The main conflict should also be resolved by the end of the play. The concept of unity of action was first articulated by Aristotle in his Poetics. Aristotle argued that a play should have a single, unified action because this would help to create a sense of suspense and resolution. He also argued that a play with multiple subplots would be less effective because it would be more difficult for the audience to follow. This question must be in your mind, that what are the benefits of using unity of action? The answer is, there are several benefits to having unity of action in a play. First, it helps to create a sense of focus and clarity. When the play is focused on a single conflict, it is easier for the audience to follow the story and understand the characters' motivations. Second, unity of action helps to create a sense of suspense and resolution. When the audience knows that there is a single conflict that needs to be resolved, they are more likely to be engaged in the story and to care about the outcome. Third, unity of action can help to create a sense of artistic unity. When all of the elements of the play are working towards a single goal, the play can feel more cohesive and satisfying. The next point is didactic lesson. It means that a classical comedy was written for the purposes of teaching moral lessons, and it is simply known didacticism. Basically, didacticism is the philosophy that art and fiction should not only entertain, but also teach moral lessons. This philosophy was highly influential in classical comedy, which often featured characters who were punished for their vices and rewarded for their virtues. These are the rules of classical comedy, so, simply this make it different from a romantic comedy. Now, let's learn romantic comedy. Romantic comedy. It can be defined as: it is a subgenre of comedy which focuses on light-hearted, humorous plot lines centered on romantic ideas, such as how true love is able to surmount most obstacles. What does it mean? Simply, it means that a romantic comedy is a type of comedy that combines elements of both comedy and romance. Basically, the stories of a comedy typically has two main characters who fall in love after overcoming a series of obstacles. Along with it, romantic comedies are light-hearted and humorous, and they typically end with a happy ending. But it also to some extent different from a classical comedy. But the question is how it is different from a classical comedy. So let me tell you some of the main points which make it different from a classical comedy. The first one is origin. The romantic comedy genre in English literature was started in Renaissance period, when playwrights began to experiment with new forms of comedy that focused on love and romance. And on the other hand, classical comedy was the product of ancient Greece and Rome. Simply, you can say that the origin of comedy is also different from a classical comedy. The second point is a focus on love and romance. It is one of the main distinguishing features of the romantic comedy that the central plot of a romantic comedy is typically the development of a romantic relationship between two characters. So, you need to remember that a romantic comedy has had theme of love and romance. The next point is unity of time. As we have understood in classical comedy that it strictly follows unity of time, but in romantic comedy unity of time is thrown into air. Simply you can say that it does not follow unity of time. Unity of place. It means that the action of a play should take place in a single location. This means that the play should not change scenes to different places. The unity of place was intended to create a sense of unity and realism in plays. So unity of place is also not strictly followed in romantic comedy. So in this respect it is also different. Unity of action. It means that a play should have one main plot. This means that the play should not have multiple subplots that are not closely related to the main plot. The unity of action was intended to create a sense of focus and clarity in plays. It is also not followed in a romantic comedy. Didactic lesson. It is also one of the main distinctive features of a romantic comedy that the authors of romantic comedy do not write play with intention of teaching moral lessons. So this is also one of the main differences of a romantic comedy. Well guys, I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Then please don't forget like and subscription to the channel. Thank you.